All right, first of all, I want to thank everybody for coming out on such a lousy evening, and appreciate your being here tonight. We will call the Open Space Greenways Committee meeting open, and I'd like to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, please.
How much did we pay for these chairs?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
How much did we pay for these chairs, Wally? I don't know, they're 15 years old. No, they're not. There, these are brand new. No, they're not.
Okay. That's all right, you can sit down now.
I don't want to. I thought we were going to have a stand-up for a while.
Okay. All right, the first item on the agenda is the approval of the prior minutes, which are in your package. We have minutes from the meeting last November, and we did not have a meeting in December. We never do. And the last meeting in February was canceled due to a lack of a quorum. So, are there any comments or questions or changes to either one of the two minutes? Start off with November.
That's the second page, or third page?
Yeah, that's the last page. November 3rd.
Okay.
Wally, should these be two separate motions to approve them or one?
Should be two.
Okay.
I would motion to accept the first set as written.
Second.
All those in favor?
You don't have to vote it if you don't change it.
Okay.
Aye.
I would also motion to accept the second set of minutes.
And this is the January one?
That's
Your
correct.
second?
Okay.
Second it?
Yeah.
No vote needed. No
Okay.
changes.
So the minutes are approved.
There you go, as written.
Was that easy?
As written.
As written. Are there any changes or additions to the agenda as presented?
The agenda is this.
If not, we'll continue.
Motion to approve the agenda as written.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You moved?
You moved.
Yes.
Who second?
You did.
Oh, I guess I did.
Okay, let's start off with the liaison reports. First of all, from the township, Wally?
Not a bunch to report tonight, sir.
Okay.
Oh, that was fast.
This is the quiet time for this committee.
Anything to report for the Conservancy, Bert?
Conservancy is holding a photo contest for Downriver High School students. And the deadline to submit digital photos to the Conservancy is May 13th. So posters are up in the high schools, and we're encouraging students to participate, and the theme is Take It Outside. So it's outdoor photos of our area.
Okay.
What are they going to do with the photos? Make a calendar or use them
There's,
booklets or?
you know, they've just been posted, the winners and the honorable mentions have been posted at Kroger, Island Fest, and the local libraries in the communities. We haven't taken it to the stage of putting them in any publication. There are prizes, though, there, you know, monetary prizes that are worthwhile and motivational.
Is this the first time?
No, it's at least the third, I'm not even sure.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Anything else, Bert?
No, that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Leah, is there anything to report as far as the recreation
Yes,
division?
well, yes, we're working with our new community rec director, Brandy Boyd. She's doing a great job for us, at least I think so. And the skating rink is up and going, very popular. Lots of volunteers to be thanked for keeping the snow off, and I guess today the ice off the ice too, I'm not sure. The bids are going out, requests for proposals for the non-motorized launch. at Water's Edge is going out. And we're starting to ramp up to do our walkthroughs of Centennial Farm and the dog park, et cetera, et cetera. And the marina, getting ready for spring, and the golf courses. And then I think an exciting thing, we're looking at adding something like Frisbee golf to the golf course. We're just, looking for other ways to have people enjoy the golf course. And so we're exploring that. And I think that's kind of it with the Recreation Department right now.
Okay, thank you very much, Leah. The next item will be our reports as far as our trail conditions is concerned, and we'll start off with Pat and talk about the wildlife sanctuary.
Okay. I actually have been making some headway on the sanctuary trail. What I did was I sent you a packet of where I am so far, just on my brainstorming ideas. I started off, and I think you've all had a packet, so briefly it's the giving the history and the geographical development, going into what is found on the trail, and coming up with some ideas that will let people walking the trail know the uniqueness of the area they're walking through. For example, showing the energy flow in the ecosystem, the hydraulic cycle of the area, right up on the glacial rock that is there. I don't know. Oh, I printed mine. That's why mine's color.
Okay, I'm looking at yours.
Mine's color from my printer. Yours is color from Cliff, not color. So the main thing that I want to do is I want to have people enjoy what they see, as well as just enjoying the atmosphere. We tend to think sometimes too much like city folks when we walk a trail, and we don't really know the full experience that we're having. So I'm trying to make information available. But as you gather all of this information, you don't want to put it all on a sign. So I have pictures here that I'll distribute to you all of the concept of the sign that I want to put up. And you'll see that it's not really massive, but that there's going to be a select amount of information that goes on it, with the bottom line basically saying if you want additional educational information, for example, more specifics on the flora and fauna and the animals, etc., on the trail, go to our website and find that information. Basically, I want to meet with the educators to see what they would like to have available to them, so that if it's a nice day and they're allowed to do this, they could take the elementary school to the trail and walk it, and maybe have check sheets available that they could, check off, oh, I found this flower, I found this tree, I did that. That's what I'd like the teachers to work with me on, to do that. And what I'm asking tonight is if you all think it's a good idea to sort of designate this as an educational trail, and then we'll start increasing the information that we make available. I almost have someone talked into making a video of the trail, and so you could go on the internet and actually walk the trail and see what we're talking about. So, as I say, I'm in the brainstorming cycle right now. As I keep getting the information, I'm going to try and filter and see what's the best method of distributing this information. But you can see this sign is not very large. It would basically have the information, the history of the location, and the geographical and about the rock. And then the more specifics, you could go on the internet and pick up that. And I have two questions tonight that you can either think of, or if you know your response, give it to me. One, I'm trying to determine if we want to have this type of a sign on Morkland and on Horse Mill, or just make Horse Mill the specific entry point. The reason I'm not sure on that is because the real parking areas are on Morkland, but the visibility for the sign would be from Horse Mill. So we might want to give some thought as to if we want one or possibly two signs like this.
How much what's the estimated cost of the signs?
For this particular one, depending on the size and everything, but if we go with this moderate size, it would be about $800. And initially I had broached and said I'd like 1,600, but I don't want to make it huge.
Sure.
So I cut it down. But you were sort of open to 1,600, so if we had two small ones at 800, we'd still be on budget.
So how many were you gonna get it? How many were we gonna get?
Well, we're going to get one for sure.
So we're only putting one sign up?
But I'm asking you to think about if you might want two, one on Morkland and one on Horse Mill.
Okay, how many other signs are coming up?
Just the additional tree signs, because we didn't have enough when we first did the signage last year, and that'll be about $50.
Okay, so we don't have $100, I'll use the example, 10 times, we're only looking at for 2 times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I only have one comment as far as the signs is concerned, and while maybe or somebody else could chime in and give their thoughts. Maybe from a visibility standpoint, it would be better if this sign was on the Horse Mill entrance because everybody would see it. But those people that are entering from Morkland would not see it.
Yeah.
But if the sign is on Morkland, would it be more susceptible to vandalism than a sign on Horse Mill? So that's something we may want to think about. Any comments?
When we went to put the bench in, I had many people saying, don't put the bench, it's just going to be vandalized. And when we put the tree signs up, we had some people, not on this team, but community people saying, well, why are you doing that? It might be vandalized. I don't think we should let the fear of vandalism keep us from doing what we think is good for the community.
Here, here. I
And
agree.
there are signs that are less susceptible to vandalism as well, so.
Yes.
you know, So you design around that potential and hope that it doesn't happen.
Pat, did you do any thinking about having signs at specific trees or in a specific, like the conversation about the glacial rocks, I think?
Well, we have put some signs up on specific trees already, but we didn't have enough signs. And the reason I'm saying we didn't have enough signs, we got one sign for every tree, species of tree that we identified. But unfortunately, they're scattered so much. And now we'd like to get duplicate ones so that you don't necessarily have to walk the whole complete trail to know that there are some signs up. And specifically the main spur, so many of those trees are red oak, but we only marked one. So we want to put at least 2 more up saying you know,
Right.
red oak, red oak, red oak, so you know that there are signs up.
Right.
So, the signs that we wanna get will be duplicates of what we put up, but we're gonna try and put it in more visible areas.
Okay. I was just thinking, I had the good fortune to be in Arizona at their Arboretum, and then in Santa Barbara, most recently, where the elephant seals were mating. And they had some wonderful, you know, like you didn't have to read just one sign. You could, you know,
We
read, you know.
put the kind that you put on the tree, but now like if we decide we wanna put a sign by the rock, we would put a stake in. But then again, not wanting to let the concept of vandalism wreck it,
Oh, yeah, no.
we thought, so that way I thought on the sign, the big sign, we would put the information about the glacial rock and that kind of specific information with the picture of the rock so that when they went in, they'd have a chance of finding it.
When would you like to put the signs up?
Ann Scheibner and I are planning on putting them up, the new additional ones in the spring. On the trees.
On the trees, okay.
Yeah, and I would like to use the rest of this year to pull the information together, and in the spring of next year, 2016, put this type of a sign up.
Okay, so you wouldn't want to put this sign here up this year then?
I don't think so, because I want to really definitize what we want to put on here.
Okay.
And I have to be able to meet with educators to see what they want on that sign.
Okay. And I think as far as the comments is concerned, I think Wally was in agreement with this as well, that we would probably want, as far as these large signs, 2 signs, one at Markland and one at Horse Mill.
Good, okay. Thank you.
Okay, anything else, Pat?
No, I don't think so. We did plant redbud trees and daffodils at the Horse Mill entry in the fall, so hopefully it'll be pretty in the spring. I'll watch and see what happens.
Okay.
I wanted to add a little comment about another possible way to interject information without having it be an unwieldy sign. And it's a project I'm working on with the Greening of Detroit. We installed a peace fence at their Eastern Market Garden, and we want to add additional information to it. So we're exploring, so I don't have much other than just the rudimentary information. The QR codes that you've seen, those little black and white squares, and when you run your smartphone by it, it connects you to a website that would give more information. So we're looking into that as
Yeah,
well.
I'm looking into that too. The one I found, the app that you can use that for, they have it for trees in the south and in the northwest, but they don't have one out that I know of yet for our areas, tree specific.
I wonder
But if
could
you
connect-
find out before I do, let me know.
The Arbor Day Foundation has a lot of good information. I don't know if they are connected.
Aberdeen?
Arbor Day
Oh, Aberdeen,
Foundation. And so I don't know if they have an app,
okay.
but they definitely have a lot of information that you can put in your zip code and find what trees and plants are appropriate for your area.
Good.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yeah.
just to add to the comment, the picture that I saw real briefly is a very good-looking sign, but we don't want to get into a sign pollution in a natural area either. So let's be real careful with how much signage we want to put throughout that, especially through that trail. I think your smaller signs identifying it were just peachy, but we don't want to go every rock, every tree, or else it'll look like an expressway, and we don't want that either. So, I think you have good judgment.
Point's taken, yeah.
Not a criticism, just a focus point. And if we're gonna move to put a couple of signs up like that, that should be
bigger than
placed
this.
to a vote of of this committee to recommend it.
Okay, point taken.
Should they be as big as this? Not this part, but should the sign be about that size?
I would ask Pat for,
Do you think the sign should be this size? Not the big one, but this size?
The
Tree-
ones on the trees,
they are that size.
the ones on the trees are about half that size.
Okay, what about this sign that you got here?
Um,
You have it measured 24 by 36. So we're talking,
Yeah,
why do we need to be?
this was a design concept, not necessarily a size concept.
Okay. I
Could
just
be,
thought it was kind of big, that's all.
what you're
Yeah,
saying,
that is kind of big. If you go to the Centennial Farm and you look at the sign that they put up for the hummingbird garden, it's humongous, but they have everything on it you could possibly want about butterflies. And I didn't want to go that route.
No, that's good.
So, I'm going to try and get it as small as I can, but again, I wanna make sure we have enough. I'm looking to put on about the rocks, about the history, and some geographical information.
How about that one that's was wrecked? Has it been fixed yet?
No,
Okay,
not last I checked, it was not fixed, the sign.
the sign that was whacked as you're going in from Horse Mill,
The single post,
yeah?
Yeah, that was
You know,
damaged with the trail.
I'm gonna confess, I think I can fix that with one screw, and I even bought a cordless drill to do it, and I just haven't done it.
I have one.
I do
Cordless
too.
drill.
You got a screw?
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I was
think
gonna
all,
do that. That
all
would
we'll
work
take.
fine.
But since we're talking of those trail signs, since the trail signs went in, we put the spur
Yes,
in. It'd be nice to have a sign where the spur comes out on thoroughfare. So that would give them 3 entry points.
okay, we'd have to make,
What I'm looking at is parking capability, and by having this sign back on Morkland, that theoretically will draw people back to Morkland to enter. But then you've got all of that parking capability on thoroughfare there, and so if we had just in back of where the garden is,
Good.
we've got that spur coming out, just put a trail entry sign
I
there.
think as we get more experience with this thing, and you.
It's a growing.
And by, say, spring of 2016, by that time
Okay.
frame, we should have enough information as to where we want it, how many we want, and exactly what the size should be. And to Wally's point, we want to provide a lot of information, but we don't want to, the law of diminishing returns, you know.
Yeah, that's right, because then you lose the fact that it's a nature trail.
Exactly, exactly.
We don't want that.
Okay.
I think you have good judgment, Pat, go for it.
Yeah. We'll support you on that, Pat, for sure. And as far as the trail sign, the trail entrance on Thoroughfare, you want another post on that, you want another entrance sign on that trail? On Thoroughfare?
On Thoroughfare,
Yeah.
yeah. We have one on Morkland, one on Horsemill, and then on Thoroughfare, that new
Okay.
spur we put on.
I'll have to call Townsend Sign
Yeah.
and wait till the snow melts and
Yeah.
see if we can put it in, okay?
And we should mention parking, one of the signs, you know, at the opposite end. You know, when we come up to that.
You need where to park?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can try that. Okay,
That's in the near future.
good. Yes, excellent. We can do that. Okay, Pat, is there anything else?
Nope, that's enough.
Okay, thank you. As far as Centennial Farms, Darrell, we haven't done much on that, except we do have a,
Well, we had that load of mulch dumped and that was spread, and we got another load there waiting. And we'll have to wait till the spring thaw and see where all the low spots are, and then spread that accordingly.
okay.
And you had a volunteer spread the mulch, Darrell?
And we should line up some volunteers to spread the mulch
Yeah.
and, you know, use a a Saturday or what have you, you know.
I think when I talked to,
But we wanna,
yeah,
we wanna make that trail go east to west
Okay.
and connect, you know, East
Yeah.
River to Macomb. Is that right?
well, that's on the Manchester Trail.
That's the Manchester.
Yeah, and I'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
What I'm saying is that as far as getting volunteers, last summer we had some volunteers from the St. Thomas Lutheran Church, Reverend Eubanks provided some volunteers, and perhaps when we get ready to spread the mulch on the Centennial Trail, we can tap into them again and see if they can help us with that. And make it a good spring project, and maybe the Boy Scouts can help us as well. So between those two groups, I think we'll have enough volunteers.
If we have enough mulch dumped there, you know, we can probably do it today.
Yeah. Okay, the playscape, we did mark out a subsequent trail, another trail running from Park Lane to the playscape. And I think obviously what we're doing now is we're waiting for the snow to melt and to dry out before we can have somebody go in there and start making a trail. I believe the next step in that process would be to get a quotation from one of our tree cutting companies. I think TNT would be, get quotations from TNT and a couple of other tree cutting companies to come in there and prepare a quote. What would it cost to put a trail from Park Lane to the playscape?
When did we do that?
We did that last fall, Woody.
No, that was from Parkway.
Did I say Park?
You
Excuse
said
me.
Park Lane.
I stand corrected, you're right. It's Parkway,
Parkway.
Parkway, not Park
To the
Lane,
Playscape.
to the
You
playscape.
kept on saying Parkway,
No,
I don't remember that one.
okay, I misspoke. It was Parkway
Okay. All
to the
right,
playscape.
all right, yeah, okay, that's the way, it should be pretty easy.
Yeah. And I think we don't need a real large trail. I think just a nice foot trail would help.
Right.
Yeah, then you can cut one log, maybe two, so the spreader can get through.
Yes,
And after that, you can even cover it, you can put it back.
absolutely. Yeah. The Manchester Trail, I have yet been unsuccessful in trying to contact the owners of that private property, see if we can use that bridge across the ravine. I'll put that on my to-do list to try to contact this individual.
If he doesn't let us do that, is there a way to do our own and go in our property, just our property?
It's possible, but it would cost quite a bit of money to do it. We'd have to actually construct a bridge. Probably the best thing to do is put a culvert type bridge. Put a culvert in and cover it with dirt. That would cost, my guess, $2,000 to $3,000 to do it. But
For
that's
what?
just a guesstimate. To put the culvert in the dirt,
I don't think so.
and that way we have an entrance on Meridian going all the way out to East River Road. And
Yeah.
that's what our objective is. And then we can start improving the condition of that trail.
I think you're probably pretty accurate with the idea of the culvert, depending upon what size it is and what type of equipment it would take to get the culvert in place.
Yeah, see, that ravine is about, I would think, what would you think, Darrell, maybe 15 feet wide,
No, at least.
15 to 20 feet. So it's not just a little ditch, it's almost like a small creek.
Understood?
It has some natural bridges, though. Some logs that are going across and you
Yeah.
can maneuver your way.
The thing of it is, at the far north end of where our property is, our ends, as open space ends, there is a cement bridge
Right.
across, and that's an old farm path, I think it was, many, many, many years ago. The cheapest thing would be to convince somebody to let us use that path, and even if we have to double back to our property and then go out to East River.
Just a note, Centennial Farm, Doug Thiel from the Conservancy mentioned that there's a lot of encroachment on the Centennial Farm open space.
Okay. All right, are there any public, anybody want to make a public comment from the audience? Any comments?
You must be talking to me.
Yeah, I am.
There's nobody else out there.
Why don't you come up and introduce yourself, and maybe, I think you're from the beautification committee, to find out what's going on, a little status report here.
Wow, it works.
Okay.
Jerry Page, 8739 Lake Road. Mr. St. Pierre sent a message to Brian Medved of the Island Beautification Committee asking if we had anyone willing to come and liaise with you in the absence of Art until he can come back. So I volunteered to come. I'm just kind of new to this. I don't really know what my function is, so I'm just trying to learn a little bit more about you people.
Certainly.
What it is that you do. Let's see, Pat, was it? I did walk that trail that you were referring to up off of Horse Mill last fall, and I do remember the signs, and I liked them.
Oh, thank
So-
you.
Okay.
Feedback.
Okay.
Feedback is always welcome.
Is it, you say there's nothing that, in other words, obviously the beautification committee's kind of like we are in hiatus with the snow so deep, you can't plant flowers in the middle of the winter, but what are some of the things that the beautification committee might be considering doing this spring?
Let's see, coming up this spring, well, what we're working on right now really are just some early preparations for the Island Fest celebration, thinking about setting up a table for that, just advertising ourselves a little bit. I find that very few people understand what the Beautification Commission is or does, so we're trying to correct that. And one of our members has suggested that we thin some of the hawthorn trees at Four Corners, specifically on the northwest corner. I believe there's 7 or 8 in a row, 2 or 3 of which are starting to look a little scraggly. They're a little too close together, so we're going to be talking about that
Oh, great.
downstairs tomorrow night. We'll probably thin those trees, and then we're going to start talking about what we need to do. Actually, I'll have to go talk to Art and Claire Kester and find out what we need to do, to what flowers we need to buy, how many, where they go, that kind of thing. Start making preparations for this spring so we can get ready for Island Fest.
Very good. Anything else?
No, that's about it.
Yeah. Well, thank you, and I hope you come to all our meetings, and until Art gets back, and hopefully he'll be
Thank you.
helpful return, and he'll be an active member of both the beautification committee and the open space program.
Oh yeah, one more thing. Trails.
Yeah.
Sounds like fun. If you need some help, let me know.
Okay.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, then, the next item is the wood cutting program. Woody, how many people have we got signed up approximately for the, to cut wood on using our new procedure?
I think there's 6.
6?
6 to 8 maybe. I think more like 6.
Okay.
We got, well, we haven't seen, I haven't seen Roos. He's out there somewhere.
Okay.
And you got 2 people that came, they want to park, not to cut, the cut in the, where the horses are, not where they are, but
Yes.
in that area.
In the Centennial Farm area. yeah.
Okay. And we had 2 people we said for horse mill.
Right.
Well, that'd be 6. Be about 6.
Well, with the snow as deep as it is, there probably won't be much wood cutting until the snow melts at least.
Yeah, we don't want people slipping and sliding out there.
Absolutely. Okay. Thanks, Woody. The next item is the open space and trail guide update. Just to give you a little, Bert and I have been working on the format for a revised, updated open space guide. Bert has used PowerPoint, has received some input from Doug, and I think he's still working on it. Is he working on the map, or?
No.
Oh, okay.
The map would be done by Greg Roginski,
Oh, okay.
and I don't want to turn that over to him until we know what we want.
Okay. Now, I gave each of you a copy of the guide, and I sent it to you in the email. Does anybody have any initial comments on it? Anything that should be changed? There are 16 pages here, and it's quite lengthy, but it includes much more information than we've had on the previous comments. So instead of trying to go through it and dissect each page right now, I just was wondering if each of you would take a look at it, make some comments on it, and then get back with either Bert or myself with those comments so that maybe we can make some changes. Are there any comments, or does anybody have any comments right now?
First comment,
Yes.
nice job. A lot of work, thank you.
Awesome.
The second comment is how we're gonna get it to the people. What's your idea?
Well, that's the next logical step after we consensus on the format and the verbiage. We have to get copies printed up, and I think, Wally, you had mentioned about trying to tie this into the channels publication in the springtime.
Yes, I had, but I don't know that you're gonna tie it into a 16-page document at the channels.
That's what I'm concerned.
That's what I was driving at.
Yeah, and Leah, as far as the recreation department is concerned, I talked to Leah very briefly this afternoon and asked if there was any possibility that a document of something of this size could be either attached to the Channels magazine, or whether it was too large to do so. So, Leah, I think you agreed to at least.
Yeah, I'll talk to Brandy, I'll show her this, and, and I expressed my concern that perhaps it might get lost among all the things with channels.
Mhm.
But at the same time, if we can do it more efficiently for money-wise with some kind of an insert, postage and so forth, maybe a mix of that. But those were my concerns, and I have no idea about how Channels is published. I know we went to a rougher paper program, and it's designed now to include information from not just community rec, but other things on the island. It's broadening its scope. So I'll talk with Brandy, and I'll get back to you.
Okay, and don't necessarily wait till the next meeting. As soon as you find something out,
Yeah,
let me know, and I'll spread the word.
Right.
The,
Probably what I'll do is try to have you and Bert meet with Brandy, or, I think that would be the best, rather than my trying to talk about it.
I did talk to Whipple Printing today, because Whipple made about 5,000 copies of this document here in 2012. This is 8 pages, on each side. This is 16 pages, so we go from 4 sheets here to 8 sheets here. And the 4-sheet copy, 5,000, cost us about $3,800 when we did it back in 2012. My guess is that, not my guess, but when I talked to Whipple, we're talking, without him looking at it, we said we're talking maybe $5,000–6,000 for this, but that may be way high.
Think
You know,
that's a lot of money?
it is a lot of money,
Well-
but I don't know, it'll cost more than this, obviously, but how much more is, as after, Whipple would have to take a good look at it to see.
Who have you targeted to distribute this comprehensive guide to?
I guess we want to hit everybody on the island.
Have you considered putting the whole complete guide on the internet and people who wanted the whole thing could print it off?
It'd save us a lot.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Pardon?
Save us a lot.
Exactly what I was going to say.
The township is putting an awful lot of money into developing this webpage.
Okay.
I think the committees and commissions should start utilizing this tool that the township has given us. I also think that we could extrapolate information to target audiences. For example, the letter I send out to all the new individuals who come, take information from here, and I'll send my markups of this. But like I picked 4 pages that I thought would be awesome for every new person moving on to Groseal to know that information.
Mm-hmm.
And that at the end say, you know, go to our webpage and find out more, and this is what you'll get and whatever. What I have found is people tend to not want to read, and I'm just wondering how many people would sit down and read the complete thing. I mean, I couldn't put it down. I thought it was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And I want this to be available to anyone who wants it. But I don't want to take monies that we might be able to use otherwise and have a large printing
Okay.
cost when we can actually make it available to anyone who wants it, and they can print it as much as they want.
So what you're saying is that instead of printing it,
Put the
they can
complete
make up a
thing.
master copy
Mhm.
and have it available on the website, and maybe take a condensed version of this,
Right,
and you can send it to new residents as they
right,
move in.
and make a condensed version that we could send to the residents so that if they wanted to go out and look at the website, you know, and look at the trails and look at the places, they could take 1, maybe 2, 3 sheets of paper and say, oh, this one has a walking trail, I'm gonna check that out. Oh, this one they identified these kind of flowers, I wanna go look at those flowers. And then they've got just one simple little guide they can take with them when they wanna do something.
We have a resource, and his name is Ted Fournier. The website, Ted knows how to manipulate very well.
Mm-hmm.
If you give him a project like that, he will help us to plug it in. There are several different audiences that we have to look at here in Groseal. There's the first blush says, let's send one to everybody. And Pat hits on that. She says, not everybody's gonna read that.
True.
There are folks that love internet and love working on a computer. And there are just as many that would just as soon print it out and read it the old-fashioned way, all right?
Mm-hmm.
I probably am leaning more that way myself. I find myself printing out a document and reading it rather than reading it on a computer sometimes. But that website, you can do all of that with. You can download it from the website. I think, you know, if you haven't taken a look at the new Groseal website,
It's good.
it's phenomenal. It's got all of the tools that we need as a commission, and see Ted. Ted can help anybody put into there what you want to put on. Bike Path is already using it for quite a bit. If you get to your computer at home, open up BPAC, take a look.
Anybody else have any comments on that? Let me start with down here.
No, I like all the ideas, but I do think it's important for those people who do not do techie things, that there be some hard copies or something available on a limited basis.
Well, I agree. But again, we have to
I'm being
appeal
too
to
off.
different audiences, different ways. Sending something like this to a grade school, it's going to be over their head. especially in the younger grades. But someone in the high school, that might find a career in ecology based on what they see in wildlife conservation, just by reading an article like that.
I think it should be put on the website.
Yeah.
Okay, instead of the old-fashioned way of printing it out.
Well, you know, that way you can go out and make 100 copies instead of 5,000 copies. And when you need another 100 copies, you just ask Ted to run you 100 copies.
Exactly.
Bert, any comments on?
No, I agree. There's no light. I agree, it should be on the website. I think we do need some hard copies, and particularly because the map is, right. The map is gonna be, you're gonna turn it and have it be a 2-page spread. So that doesn't, I found it doesn't print out that well when you do it,
Yeah, it's too small.
when you download it
Yeah.
and stuff, so. But yeah, I mean, I think we wanna hit all forms of information absorption these days.
I'm looking at that map and saying an 11 by 17 four-page document would be a great piece to set 20 copies at the post office and 20 copies at Kroger's and 20 copies at the public service. You know,
That's probably something we could do ourselves as far as.
11 by 17s, or, you know.
Yeah.
But the other thing is that we're on GITV right now. GITV is begging for information. And there are tons of good information in here that all we need to do is have somebody format it so you can put it on the television and actually read it. I've seen a couple of them that come out there with type about as tall as an ant, and you can't read that, and 75 paragraphs on one sheet for 10 seconds, and it's gone. So careful setup of PowerPoint pages, for example, would be very well suited for GITV. So that we have the resources, and we don't have to spend thousands of dollars necessarily to get that message out.
Okay, good point. Woody, any comments on that?
No.
Okay. Well, I think what we should do is, Pat, you and I, is maybe talk about this a little bit and see how we can, again, the first step is to have everybody look at this and see if, from a content point of view, if anybody has any changes that they feel should be made. Secondly, the two of us get our heads together and take these comments, come up with a final draft, and then possibly maybe sit down with Ted and put it on the website. That's a suggestion. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
yeah. I haven't run it by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service or the DNR yet, so we want their input to bless
Yeah.
their sections.
There's a significant amount of input here from Nature and Land Conservancy. For that, I will say thank you. That's deeply appreciated. That's a great group of people, too.
Yeah, and I think that's the nice thing about this. It gives somebody who moves here for the first time a complete story of what this island is from a nature point of view. I mean, I remember when I moved here, I didn't have a clue what was going on. Of course, I was much younger. And with something like this, you begin to appreciate how unique our community really is.
Just let me add one more thing to that. Last year, the Recreation Commission and the Bike Path Commission collaborated on a little project called Walk the Path, where we had a program where we set up a barbecue grill and we had hot dogs and lemonade for people. And Barry Van Engelen was just a superb entertainer. He got me to sing, so if that doesn't scare away people, I don't know what will, but maybe we should do that on Halloween, right? But by taking two commissions together like that, Bike Path and Recreation, and then pulling Greenways Open Space and Nature and Lands Conservancy all into that little park on June 7th or June 14th, and doing this event and promoting all of our commissions and committees together, I think that's powerhouse.
Okay.
We'd get public participation, we would get coverage from the newspapers, we would get, so, we'd get some information. There's another one coming up. There's does anybody know what a baradeur is? A high-speed cyclist that goes real fast on flat ground.
Oh, yeah.
Wayne State University is promoting a 100-mile event, and they want to include part of Grosse Ile in that event, a cyclist event. More to come, but again, we're tying things together, the mass of coverage, if you could get all of that together, the world's going to see us.
Well, what I'd like each one of you to do, if you could, is take a look at what Pat has put on PowerPoint here, and again, thank you for a job well done.
Amen.
And
Bert
Bert,
did it.
sometimes I forget my own name. I'm getting old, I guess. But
It's all right, Woody.
spell it right.
That's all right, Woody.
but take a look at this, and if you have any comments, maybe set a deadline. Can we next couple weeks? Get your comments either back to Bert or myself.
Well,
And-
both.
Or both, and then you and I can sit down and put the final draft together. Okay? Why don't we do that, and then would it be too aggressive by the next meeting, we have the final package ready to go? Okay, okay, we'll target that. Okay, so take a look at it and get back with us within the next 2 weeks, and then Bert and I will go through and come up with the final draft. Okay, the next item is the letters to new residents. Pat, any further developments on that?
13 were sent out in February.
Okay,
Wow, 13. So how's that sound?
Does anyone here remember when we used to have a welcome wagon? You remember the welcome wagon group?
yes,
You remember that? I think this is a vestige of something like that, welcoming people to Grosse Ile.
yeah. Well, this is, I'm not aware of any welcome wagons, so that's why
No, they don't exist anymore.
So that's why we took it up upon ourselves.
This is the same sort of an idea.
It is.
You sending that letter to a new resident, these folks are strangers when they hit here. They
It would
may
be
have
nice if the committees got together and sent a welcome packet
Yeah,
from all of us.
this is what you can do now that you're here. And then we'll get at the real estates to tell people, if you're considering moving to southeast Michigan, why don't you come here? This is what we have.
So we got 13 in February. That's great. Thank you, Pat. All right, the next item is the spring dump the junk event. Woody and I have been talking. Woody, what?
I like May. You like April. But April, there's a lot of rain in April,
Okay.
and I don't need to stand out there again and get soaked by rain. I mean, it might rain in May, but at least it's not gonna be as bad as April.
Warmer rain.
Huh?
Warmer rain is what Woody is
I
saying.
don't care what it is, but it
Okay, so
can't be
you
that
would,
wet,
you would,
wet.
you would prefer May?
Yeah, I would prefer May, the first or second week. I mean, it's just one or a couple of weeks later, but it could make a lot of difference in the weather.
Okay. Anybody have a calendar?
Yep.
Okay. What's the first weekend in May?
May 1st.
May 1st?
Hold on. I was being a smart aleck.
I think it's the 5th.
No, not May.
Huh?
The Island Fest is the first weekend after Memorial Day in June.
Island Fest is the 28th, 29th, or 29th, 30th, and 31st of May.
Okay,
Okay, so what you're talking about, what is either the first weekend or the second weekend
that
in
would
May?
be May 2 or 3,
Uh-huh.
or May 9 and 10.
Yeah, first or second weekend, let's have it a little drier, that's all.
Well, why don't we make it the 9th and the 10th?
9th
Okay.
and 10th might work.
I agree, I think.
Okay,
Yeah,
fine.
That's easier on everybody, including the
Mother's
people
Day weekend.
bringing stuff.
Yeah,
I agree.
May 9th and 10th.
And Wally, is there a possibility that we could get the electronics folks back here so we can
Gotta
take
ask,
a look?
I will ask.
Okay. All right. Does everybody agree to the 9th and 10th?
Yeah, that's good.
Yes.
Okay. All right, we'll make that in a formal motion.
Motion, 9th or 10th for the dump to junk.
Second, all right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, Lorenda has called me about that already, and, do you want me to contact her tomorrow?
When you tell her, also tell her, to have,
Jan?
no, not, Jan's not there.
Donna?
Donna, have her contact, the steel company. She's talking to a person inside. Well, I had a person, but the guy went on vacation, and that's why we didn't have the bucket there last time.
Okay.
So she knows a person inside, and Donna can call him and say, this is the date, and
Okay.
we wanted there on the Friday in the afternoon prior to the thing,
Okay.
along with the ones that come from the junk people, trash people. There's a guy who brings it in, he knows what to do, he's always the same guy.
The roll-off box deliveries?
Pardon?
You're talking about roll-off box
Yeah,
deliveries?
right.
Okay.
From, who's our garbage guys?
Waste management.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, they bring in some guy that knows what he's doing. We don't have to keep telling him, and he does a nice job, and
Waste management's a good company. They shouldn't take a lot of direction.
And that means we have to we'll get the signs up and ready for May 9th and 10th. And,
Right. okay. That should
if-
give enough leeway for them to make them, so we're not,
Absolutely. And if possibly, Wally, we can get the electronics thing, if you
I
could.
wrote it down and I will ask. They were unwilling to last fall,
Okay,
but they never gave me a reason.
okay,
Maybe just very busy, and
very good.
we were kind of small in our event as
Okay,
compared to things that they normally do, so.
yeah, right.
agreed, okay,
I mean, it's hard to compete against Southgate or
yeah.
True.
the other big towns, because a lot of things do come.
Well, your biggest competition when it comes to e-waste events is that they're sponsored by Wayne County. And Wayne County pays people to come in from lab packing facilities and take the hazardous waste and the e-waste and pack them. So, you know, we're
The only
expecting
reason
them for
we
free.
would do it is people come to the, they come in with their TV set or their computer, and they get a little bit upset, and we say, well, we can't accept it, because it's, it's hazardous waste.
Well, we prominently state, well, I'll get you the answer, yea or nay.
Very
And then
good,
if we don't get it, we will prominently state, no electronic waste.
absolutely, absolutely.
Remember that word, no electronics. Remember the word.
Okay.
No judgment call.
Do we know when the St. James Spring Bazaar is? Because if we could coordinate around that with the leftover stuff, the leftover decent stuff.
Yeah, they haven't published in our directory. We just have to look it up in there. And then also, we should always, when we're doing this, look at the city schedule to try not to have too many things going on the same time. It's impossible to find a weekend when nothing's going on.
That's right.
But if you could limit it to maybe 3 or 4 things only happening instead of 6 or 7, everyone would have a chance to really participate in the activities that are happening.
Okay, well, why don't we do it this way? Why don't we either have it, we'll have it, our first choice will be the 9th and the 10th, unless there's some big event going on that weekend that we're not aware of. And if there is, then we'll move it to the 1st and 2nd. Does that make sense?
Move it to what?
The first,
The second.
or the first
Oh.
weekend in
Why
May?
don't you guys just make the decision in the next couple of days?
Yeah,
And you can send an email out,
yeah.
all
In
right?
other words, it'll be the 9th.
We have a community calendar, all right? There might be something on that community calendar.
Okay,
Just look at the calendar. If there's nothing there, we go with the 9th and the 10th.
okay, will do, okay. All right, the next item, Township Board has asked us to take a look at the meeting's procedures and rules as far as attendance is concerned. And with the fact that we've had Art Kester has been not with us, and he's been sick for the last, ever since this last fall. And I talked to Art's wife yesterday, and Art is anxious to get back on stream. And my feeling is that in deference to Art, I think we should hold the spot open until he decides that either he wants to come back and will come back, or he wants to resign. Now, I don't know whether this fits into proper procedures or that, but I think. in
How much
Art's
time are you gonna give him?
Well,
A year?
it's hard to say. I think from a standpoint that, in as much as Art has given so much to this
No, he's giving him
township.
tons.
Might I read you the,
There's nobody can beat him.
Yeah,
would you like to read, hear the commission's, the
yes,
committee's general provision that regards attendance?
yeah,
It's 3 missing.
Any member of a township commission or who is absent more than 3 consecutive meetings, or is absent in excess of 25% or more of the official meetings of the commission in any one fiscal year may be dismissed from membership on the commission at the discretion of the township board or as otherwise provided by law. Nobody on the township board wants to be pushed into that corner, least of all me. But I do have to tell you that there is a regulation about it.
okay,
If you have a stroke, if you are incapacitated physically for some reason for 3 or 4 months, and you're a person who has had great stature in the community, a long-standing event, those are extenuating. And the township board will look at your positive contributions, right, when they make that decision. Because it says, at the discretion of the township board.
is not the discretion of the committee itself?
No, no.
Okay, well then what I'm gonna ask is that maybe you might wanna do this in a closed session, it'll be up to you, Wally. Ask for the township board's opinion on this, as far as
The-
Art is concerned.
There is no opinion needed. It's stated as it's stated.
Right, 3 times, but.
If
we
you
can
miss
always
3 in a
overlook
row,
that.
or if you miss 25% of the meetings, you can be relieved of your duty.
Okay,
And how many times, guys, have we sat here when there was 3 of us or 4 of us? It's hard to get anything done. You come onto a commission or a committee and you say, I want to be there, I have a dedication to the purposes of this committee, I want to be a positive contributor, and then you're not there for half the meetings. Can't have that. But at the same time, I'm going to say to you, if you have other interests, if you have other needs, then maybe you should say, maybe I should back off for a while. If you're a good contributor and a vacancy pops up, put your hand up again. But if you want to take care of other things, as a matter of fact, if you look at the application, it says, do you anticipate being away from the township for extended periods of time? They're asking that question for a reason. They want you here.
But on
If
Art's
you
case,
can't be here,
on Art's
then-
case, we can slide. We'll slide until he wants to come back, or he makes a decisions not to come back.
let me just be real clear on it. If you signed up, please do your very best to be here. If there's reasons of health or personal nature, let me know, let Cliff know.
Yeah.
But let's be here every month if we're gonna be on this commission.
I'll be the point person on that, as far as, if you can't be here, let me know.
You and I will decide whether that's an excuse.
But in the case
or
of
not.
Art, I think we should just slide until he makes a decision.
It would be my recommendation to the township board to agree with Woody.
Okay, okay. Okay, I think we've discussed that sufficiently.
A little bit more. There are things that this commission hasn't been doing regularly that we need to address. And First of all, we appoint a chair, and that is you. This is the decision of this committee was to say that we wanted Cliff for another year, and I applaud that. I think anything less I would not expect of you. I think he's a great chair. He needs a vice chair, and he needs a secretary. And both of those positions have responsibilities. One of the responsibilities as a secretary is to file minutes within 8 days of a meeting. Many of your commission meetings are not on the website at this point. And most of the other commissions are. I'd ask you to address that. That's all.
Okay, I think the way we have it is that Pat has volunteered to take the minutes of the meeting, and I usually type them up.
They're not getting from your spot to the secretary who puts them into the.
Well, this is where I think we're maybe it's my fault. We're having a little bit of a, but when I type up the minutes, I give a copy to Carol, and I would assume Carol Knopp, and I assume Carol gives them to Ted, and he puts them on the website, puts them into the system. Well, then how does it work?
Carol is supposed to take them and put them in for you. Ted doesn't have anything to do with minutes,
Okay.
other than his own
So
commission.
we give them to Carol.
Yeah.
And I put her on copy.
There's a procedure, I'll give it to you later. I don't want to make anything bigger out of this than it is.
Okay,
It's a rule, it's a rule. We'll live with the rule,
okay,
all right?
enough said. Okay, thank you. Okay, the last item is I recently wrote an open space article for the camera. I've given you, it's an information, I consider it an informational piece on the Open Space Committee and the Open Space Program. I've given copies to the Township Board for comments. I've made 2 or 3 iterations of that. You folks have the latest copy of this article. And I'm going to ask you, the question now is if you don't have any comments, the only question I have, should this come from the committee or should it come from me personally, as far as the article? Now, we plan to put the article, after I get comments back from the Township Board, on the EO camera and on the website. So I'm asking for an opinion as to whether it should come from the committee itself or from me as an individual. I'd like to discuss that for a minute. What's your thoughts?
Anybody else can make an opinion, I will give you mine.
Okay.
I think that you have realized, you being every member on this commission, realize that there's a headwind fighting purchases of open spaces at this point. It's at one of the meetings that I was voted down 6-1 at, trying to sell purchases, as you recall. It's very difficult to get anything done when you get a 6-1 vote against you. But I work for the citizens of this township. And the citizens that I spoke to really strongly support purchases of open space.
Mm-hmm.
And for years and years and years they have. And they've amassed almost $500,000 for future purchases of open space. It's out there. The last millage for open space failed. And at that point, I think the clear message is the citizens did not want to purchase any more open space than what they had already funded. And I think that's the clear message. It's not that we have enough open space. It's not that I don't want open space and you don't want open space. It's the township's residents said that after you get done spending that $529,000, there is no more money to buy it. If you want to buy it, you're going to have to come to the voters and ask for another millage or an assessment.
Yeah.
But I don't think that, and you know, my township, I stand in opposition to all 6 of them when I say we should be purchasing open space with the funds that we have left. We can't use the money legally for anything else. That's what our township citizens
But they're
said.
trying.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to stand my ground. My suggestion to you is that you should be diplomatic in your letter, send it out as an individual, and appeal to the residents of the township to help support you
Okay.
and to support this committee.
You should have those people that talk to you about, they want open space, tell them to come to the meeting and express it to these people that sit here. That they want open space.
I agree,
Does anybody else have
I
any
mean, you got
comments?
lots.
but it's not only I.
I know that, but you got a lot of
I
people.
think the article as it's written now is, it's more of an informational type thing, but the message is still there.
The message is, the residents voted for and gave you money, and you've spent all but $529,000 of it. Nobody's asking for any more. And that money's either gonna sit in the bank,
Okay.
or it's gonna be purchases of open space.
I think what would.
Nothing different.
Having said that, I think there's one, maybe that statement should be emphasized a little bit more about the remaining funds should be spent.
That's what they're designated for.
Okay, all right.
They didn't ask, nobody's asked for 10 cents more.
Just bring it in.
Bert, anything, comments on that?
Okay.
I'm not sure if I've seen the latest copy.
Just do.
And I think we toned down the earlier version
Yeah,
to be more informational.
and it's,
I guess I'm, as a newcomer, relatively, 6 years now, I'm not sure, I guess, I don't know if that turning down the millage was people saying there was enough money that was enough to buy open space, or whether it was a reaction to the other financial issues facing the township and not wanting, and finally having a chance to say no to something when they were being hit in the pocketbook for other things that were less desirable. So, and I don't know that there's any way to really find that out. It's fine with me if it goes, Cliff is kind of the face of the open space committee. It can go under his name or it can go under the committee name. I'm fine either way.
I agree with Bert. I think Cliff is seen by the community as being the spokesperson for open space. If no one on the committee disagrees with what is in the article, then I don't see why it shouldn't go out as him speaking for the committee.
Yeah, Pat, that's what I was just going to suggest, that, Cliff on behalf of the Open Space Greenways Commission.
Woody, any comments?
No.
Okay,
I agree 100%. that,
Okay.
Article should proceed.
okay. I'm gonna take one more pass at it. I want to see if, I haven't received any comments back from the board on the draft that I gave them, which was the latest draft that I wrote, which was, I thought, a lot more, more informational than anything else, so. Okay, I'll wait for another week or so, and if I don't hear from any more board members,
I've given you my opinion, other people have given you their opinion, and I would trust this committee to use its collective judgment to do the right thing.
okay,
I don't,
very good.
I'm not gonna argue either way. My opinion was you as an individual. You are the Open Space Committee, and people know that,
Yeah.
so.
Okay, I appreciate everybody's comments. Are there any other items that we haven't talked about tonight? Anybody, any other comments before we adjourn?
I
Lee?
saw my hyacinths
No,
coming up.
not related to this, but the Groseville Musicale is announcing its annual scholarship
Okay.
competition. So if you know anybody who's a resident of Trenton or a resident of Groseville, graduating from high school and going to college with a major or minor, talk to your counselor.
I think we should
Anything?
adjourn.
Okay.
I think we're all set.
I have nothing. Bert?
I second
Okay.
I have nothing.
All those in favor?
Next meeting date?
Next meeting date?
Another hour or two?
Pardon? I know you would, Woody, but we have a majority. All right? All those in favor of adjourning? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming tonight. Appreciate it.